Greetings, Ujayi, and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. I'm Katasta Fakara, and I would like to say welcome. As we get, that's it. Just making sure that sounds are good and everything. So as we begin our journey into this week's Wisdom of the Nile show, we're trying to make sure that you're getting the best sound possible. How have you been? How are you doing in these interesting times? So much is going on all around, you know. If you don't have a steady ship, you would want to disintegrate for some people and just be confused with others and in a state of shock with others, you know. These are the times that were prophesied that would come, you know, so marvel not. But I guess some of the things you still have to be thinking, like, you know, what's going on here, you know. Yes, but within Kemetic calendar, and for those of you who have tuned in to the show and listen regularly, you know that this show is called the Wisdom of the Nile show, because we bring the teachings of our ancestors, our forefathers, all the way from that mother, that birth of civilization, that river Nile, because we know that any time life is going to flourish, it must do so by water. So the Nile River is known to have brought about the greatest civilizations on the planet. There are other water bodies on which civilization did flourish, but the Nile Valley was that area from which our ancestors came. And we know it runs through places like, just so that it's not discounted, right? We know it runs through places like Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda. Now, we know who's there. Those people who are there now were there from the beginning of time, so we know, right? It goes down through Ethiopia and into Kemet, Egypt, which is the place that was kind of sectioned off and made to look different from all those other countries we just named. We're talking about knowledge right down that waterway. So we come and deliver information and spiritual knowledge via the vehicle of the Earth Center. And the Earth Center was set up by Nebnaba Lamusa Morandenebek, High Priest from the Dogon temples, now situated in West Africa, Burkina Faso, but the Dogomba people stretch out across that whole West Africa there. But they trace their lineage, they trace their roots back to Kemet. And so the knowledge that they bring is that which they brought from the Nile Valley region. So we give thanks that today we can be sharing some of that knowledge, especially in a time where if the powers that be and the powers that invaded those regions at that time and whose offspring still are in power today, if they had had their way, we would know nothing about this. So we are thankful. We give thanks for those who held this knowledge for thousands of years, for those who took the mission, and specifically Nebnaba, who took the mission out into the West, so that those of us who have been disconnected from our ancestral wisdom or wise minds and have that yearning, no matter the fact that we were born in this Western region, our soul and our spirit certainly were not. And so we searched for what at the time would have seemed the impossible. That, what are you looking for? What is there? There's nothing there. This is the world. This is it. But our spirit and our soul and everything knew differently, And so we dug and we found the crown jewels. So we give thanks. So today within our calendar, it's a very special day. We call it the day when our ancestral father was killed by his brother Set. So we actually call this day, it's the death of Wusa. And it's a day where we mourn the death of our deity. We call him our godfather. From the Kemetic temples, through the Dogon teachings and through the temple system, it was known that there was a deity who the Greeks went on to call Osiris, who in Kemet was called Wusa, and he is, as we say, our ancestral father. And his brother, for those who may not know the story, I'll just give a brief synopsis. His brother, who was called Set, and from whence the name Setan has been derived, comes from. Basically, his brother wanted to rule existence alone without his brother Wusa being there. And so he devised a way, and with him and his cronies, they found a way to get rid of Wusa, kill Wusa. And there's a whole Kemetic story behind that. And Wusa is revived, brought back to life by his wife, by his sister wife, Aishat, the one who they call Isis, the one with the Isis and child, and whose iconography has been later used as the Mary and Christ. Isis, being a devoted wife, makes it her mission to find her dead husband and bring him back to life and to conceive, because she knows of the agreement, that she knows of the destiny that her husband had, and his destiny was that of what we call a cyclical destiny. He had chosen the path, a cyclical path, which means it involves the cycle, being born, growing, living life, doing things, getting mature, then getting older, then dying, and then the reincarnation where there's this rebirth. So Wusa had chosen the cyclical cycle, but his brother Set had chosen a linear path where it was just life ever living. There was no death. There was no cyclical cycle. And we know that everything in this nature that we perceive has this notion of cycles, the seasons, life, death, everything around us, the sun, there's a cycle, even the whole cycle, the spheres, again, it brings in that whole aspect of the circle. So Aishat understood that Wusa's life would be carried on by his son, well, a son to come, or a child, because he had chosen this cyclical path. And she searched until she found him, and because she was the goddess who had the gift of magic and herbs and all of those powers, she was able to use those. But prior to that, she diligently remembered her husband, brought his body back together after his brother had cut him up into 14 pieces and scattered him across the earth. She remembered those pieces. She literally put them back together, and by doing that, she was able to bring her husband,
the UK's biggest
back
network.
to we're hearing. Okay, we're hearing.
Pay-as-you-go everyday plan.
Okay.
You recently
So right, not sure what that was, something in the background, but so after bringing her husband back to life, she then is able to conceive what we call the first immaculate conception. That was done by Aishat, and they had a son, Wusa. So, and then the story goes on from there. But today is the day that we mark the day that Wusa returned to the Imentet. He went to, as we say, prepare a place for those who live here on earth in a righteous way, in a way that fits the vow that our ancestors made to the divine world, to walk according to the divine principles, and there is a code called the Code of Human Behavior, where there are 77 laws that was given unto humanity. Again, this was ushered by our ancestral father Wusa, who we are mourning his death today, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We acknowledge that there is a way for humanity to live. And so when Wusa went back to the Imentet, we mourn that, but he rises again, because it follows Wusser's existence is one which follows a cyclical cycle. And we see that movement in the journey of what we call the sun, Eden. And it's the sun at this time of the year, it's at its lowest. It's in a lot of the this side of the world is cold, and it's darkness, and the sun is being, they say, being reborn, before it rises again and the seasons come and you get spring where everything begins to flourish. This is the time where there is rest, So we acknowledge that cycle. We acknowledge the cycles, but we acknowledge this day. So those of us who are initiates are fasting. So we fasted today, and those who are able to would break with their zemzem, which is a traditional prayer, and then we would eat. And this fasting will be going on actually for a few more weeks left to come for those who are going to go through into January, and there are those who may want to who may need to finish their fasting, maybe just for the one day, maybe just for a few days. So if you would like to fast along with us during this period of mourning, fasting in itself is a very strengthening thing, a very empowering thing. So but we do it in remembrance. We were sharing a bit more about Wasser. I think before we do that, I just think I'd like to hear a little bit of the drums out of Merita. The drums of the Vodon ringing out from Merita. going to give out the phone number in case anybody is out there and during the show wants to get interactive. So I'm going to do it right at the top here. It's 079 444 31366. That's 079 444 31366. You're listening to the Wisdom of the Nile show on Bless Radio. Yes, some of those traditional drums just to get the energy flowing correctly. Yes, so as I said, I want to welcome you to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And as today is we're mourning our ancestral father, the death of WASSEKER, I would just like to take the opportunity to just read an article, and I'll probably do this article in sections because it's quite a long article and we may have callers in between, but let me at least start this so we get a perspective. So this is a article now for the Earth Center. We have a section called the Firefly Production, and that's where we do all our printing. We have something called the Firefly, which is a magazine that is monthly, every 2-3 months, monthly I think. We have had times when they haven't been out for a few months, but they are regular periodicals that go out now. This one is volume 56, and okay, I think we've got a caller. This one's volume 56, and I will be reading from volume 56. I'm just going to take this call. Ujayi.
Ujayi.
Hey, Ujayi Nemahi, how are you?
I am doing good. I'm doing great, actually.
On this ancestral day where we mourn Well, so I was just about to read from the Firefly an excerpt, which I'm gonna do shortly. But I'm glad you've joined us. So let's just introduce you first, Nemahi, because this section we will call our initiates corner, where our initiates call in and share some of their journey. What the road has been like for them, and even going through periods like this, which we are going to enter in, how it is for them. So I think it would be good to get that part of the journey for you. So Nemahi, can you just share a little bit about yourself to the listeners, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, Ijai, everyone. A little bit about myself. I joined the Earth Center about 2017. Prior to joining it, I was actually searching for quite some time, various organizations and various groups, looking into spiritual teaching. Started off in Christianity, but along the way, something was missing. I always felt like something was missing, and I needed more. And I was found myself at the Earth Center by giving a leaf. I think I went to one of your health classes. I went to your health class, and by since joining there, it's been a really challenging time, to say it mildly. But what it did for me was put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together in my life. Going through the initiation, I'm not a very studious kind of person, but I went through the initiation, and I felt I was really stretched. I felt like one of those people who were in the museum that's been stretched, arms, legs, everything.
I know what you mean.
The teachings have been really profound and amazing, especially all of them. The Medu, the language, the Medu Netta, the hieroglyphics, as we call it, was something I never thought I would ever even learn. Even though I'm at the basic foundation level, I didn't think I would ever look into that. But somehow, since learning it, I'm finding it open parts of my brain that was probably dormant for such many years. Hence the reason why it was so difficult for me initially. And also a lot of the philosophies and the, I don't know, so much. Learned about your opinions. I used to be quite opinionated. I probably still am a bit opinionated. I think since being in the Earth Centers, I'm learning to curb that. And to be a bit more introverted, if that's the right word. I mean, Katibi, the Katibi classes, which is Spiritual Arm of the Organization, since doing the mantras and learning about the mantras and the prayers, and it's really helped me with my ancestors, connecting me with my ancestors, which all the years I knew that somebody was talking to me or connecting me and protecting me, but I really couldn't understand it. Nothing was really clear until I joined the EC properly, and I started to see that a lot of the teachings that I've been taught over the years from other churches, organizations, that it's like everything seemed to come back to Kemet for some reason. Everything come back to Kemet, especially with all this, spiritual teachings. And I just find within myself that there's a much better connection. Even with the salt of the healing, there's many things I used to do that I don't really do now. I try and I used to love eating ice, something simple like that, but I didn't realize how ice was destroying my internal organs. Didn't realize that. And many of my friends and stuff, everybody have ice with everything. So, I don't even know, you might ask me a few questions.
No, no, it was so telling just now when you spoke about that, you always knew, like there was always this thing that was guiding you, this voice, or, and when you got to the Earth Center, it put the pieces back, because
Yes.
those of us who are touched from the other side, or have some kind of connection, or feel this thing, and it's so ingrained in our people. The doorway to strengthening that connection and making it more powerful, it is like they've put bricks in front of it and boulders, and they say put a big sign on it that says necromancy, or dealing with the dead, or don't do that. So you have this image that, oh my God, I can't go there. So you kill that part of you, which is your ancestors that walked before you, left their DNA, their blood, their legacy, everything. And like any parent would want to do, watch over their children and want to look out for you and tell you the next. You kill that because this brick's been built up. And they say, don't go there, it's evil, it's bad. And so the better part of yourself, you don't deal with. And you're right. It's like when the Earth Center, when you get to cultures which are the traditional African culture, and the Earth Center, it has been brought in a particular way from the temples of Merita, they flag those bricks out of the way and open the door and let you see clearly that it's your own ancestors. You are their descendants. Who else? Who else would there be? Who else would it be? So go ahead.
No, I was just saying how the ancestors are so loving and beautiful. I didn't really digest how loving they are and how patient they are, and they will go to any length to try to get you. I mean, I've said it so many times. My last straw for me to listen was to break my foot, and it sounds trivial to some people, but to me it was a wake up call that they had to say, what else do we need to do to this woman to make her see that we are here for her?
No.
And I came from I was always comfortable, make sure that financially I was provided for myself, and to feel that there was a stage where I had to make choices and sacrifices, which I was too scared to do. And
and you're still here today, right?
I'm still here. It's true. Imagine that.
Imagine that. So never happened to you. You just get stronger.
Yeah, I did, because it forced me into much more into myself, and the animalistic memory that we learn in the Earth Sea. They teach you about animalistic memory, and I realize how I've made so many excuses for myself, and still making excuses, and it's very hard. I feel like when you see a person and they're peeling off the skin to get to the bones, it's like I'm taking off the old clothes and that old spirit that you have walking with, you don't want to let go. They just it's just a constant battle all the time. But it eventually gets easier. But my word, what a
struggle, eh? That's when you really know you're in it. If you're not talking about the kind of struggling that you're talking about now, then you're not really in it. As you know, and we're taught in the initiation that we are born to the one who killed our parents. So it's like we're born in their house. We're born in the house of the ones who killed our parents. So they were there when we were born. So remember, when you're a baby, you're helpless. So that one who killed your parents is done watching over you from a long time. So with that programming that they're making sure that you don't grow up to say you want to avenge your parent, that's the last thing they're going to want, right? So they're going to make sure the programming that you get sets you for life. So you see, to undo that programming,
challenging.
And that's what organizations like these and others, which help to unlock the chains of that Euro domination on the mind, that that Jizza and Bent struggle, the struggle for good and evil, you know, that's taking place, and we can see that quite clearly at this very moment in time. You know, we can see even those who have given their all to the system that we've lived in, at least have had to question over these last few months. Well, really, you know, even if they're still with the, you know, they've had to question, because, you know, there's certainly a shift happening.
Yes.
You know, so that's why, you know, when I opened the show, I said, you know, I give thanks for having a solid ground to stand on during these times when...
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Because one thing I've noticed as well is that all of us within the Earth Center, we're much more calmer. People outside of initiation seems to be a bit more panicky. They're fearful, they're worried. But I myself, I don't feel that. I don't have that fear.
No.
You know, I think it's because I am standing more on a solid foundation, and I'm understanding that all of these things happen, and they're happening for a reason.
That's right.
And that, you know, spiritually we're protected because we've been connected with our ancestor, and, you know, and doing our spiritual work according to the calendar. Yes. Which is another beautiful,
isn't it?
Simple little paper. It looks like, but it's very, very powerful.
Powerful.
You know, the daily observation. You know, many times I'm thinking, oh, I missed divine holiday. Oh, I missed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Ancestral.
Calm.
Yeah. It just does bring in an energy, you know, and It's and you know it's to know that this the calendar, because you know the ancient Kemet used to use the calendar according to, you know, the Sophist star, Sirius, Septet, whatever name you want to call it, and this is the same calendar that was used by them, that, you know, a group of people have managed to keep it in use until it can be brought out now. I mean, it beggars belief, you know. Every time I think about it, I'm like, you know, I mean, I remember when I went to Merita, to where Nebnaba is laid to rest, you know, where they have his place laid to rest. And I went to the place, and, you know, we drove, it seemed like ages, like in the middle of nowhere. You're just driving in the middle of nowhere. There's like nothing. There's nothing around you. You know, it's almost like desert you're driving. You're just driving. And then we get to this, you know, you just see a few like little domes, you know, and then it's the village. So that's proper rural village. And I remember when I came out of the vehicle and I was looking around, and I just couldn't fathom it out. And I said to Naba, you know, this is where Naba got all his knowledge from. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, how they did it, only the Nete themselves know. I don't know how they did it. Because, you know, to survive the onslaught of the Greeks, to survive the onslaught of the Romans, to survive the onslaught of the Arabs, to survive the onslaught of the Europeans, whether it be Portugal or France or Britain or Germany, to survive that, and to survive the test of time, to keep something as solid as what we know in initiation. Wow, you know, so that we've got something full, like we're eating like from a full plate. We can eat a full 3-course meal, a 5, 10 if we wanted, you know, but my belly full after the 3rd course. but yeah, it's you know, it's a table worth coming to dine at. Let's put it that way.
Definitely. And you're getting so many tools. You know, you talk about knife and fork. You know, we have knife, fork, spoon, plate. We have so much tools with the commandments, you know, that has been given to us to guide us. And, you know, And I say to people, you talk about the 10 Commandments and the 44 laws of my art. These are 77, imagine.
Mm-hmm.
People can't even manage 10, and we were given 77 to work with,
Mm-hmm.
to guide us.
Mm-hmm.
And, working to, sometimes when I'm just in awe, because the amount of times I do something, I look at the commandments and I think, I wonder if I've broken,
Mm-hmm.
thou shalt cause misunderstandings. What did I do? Is it about my emotions? It makes you always fall back on yourself.
Yes, makes you have to question yourself to make sure that you're standing on good ground. Mm-hmm. And it's good, because who else are you going to question? Because you can't change anybody else. So, so if there's an issue, then you need to look to yourself first to make sure that something, because sometimes, unconsciously, we may be acting a certain way and have certain behaviors which are triggering things in other people, and until we check ourselves and look at our own selves, we won't even see that. We'll be so busy pointing fingers at them that we don't see that it came from us in the first place.
Definitely. I think that was the biggest lesson.
Yeah, and so it helps with the humility. It makes you have to, even if you want to big up your chest, you have to just come back again and check yourself.
Check yourself all the time. And you can see clearly in other people when it's not happening.
That's the thing, isn't it? You can just sit and watch, like a movie now, isn't it? You can just kind of just sit and watch like things unfolding, and Oh, Namahi, I really want to thank you for calling in and sharing with us, because this road, when you're taking it, it's good to know that you have brothers and sisters, sentis and senus, who are also of the same mind and also want to walk that same walk, Yeah.
It's important, because outside there's other people, I can count people in one hand outside of the EC who are understanding of what I'm going through, and it's the generations and the support from each other that within the Earth Center is so beautiful. Beautiful bunch of people.
Because
that we understand and we support each other, which is really, really. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's strengthening, because we're all on the same road, and we know we're non-perfect. We're all going to make mistakes and that. So, you can't even judge anyone. You just know that, okay, that was their human weakness coming out. Mine's going to come out tomorrow. Yours will come out the next day. Hers will come out the day after. His will come the day after that. It's just how it is, So we have to, but it's about the person acknowledging when they know that, they've acted out, and then they can bring themselves back in line, because again, it's all about you. This journey is just about us, yourself. Yeah. It's a journey into self. So, Duawu, for sharing a few minutes with me today, having a nice, banter, and just a sharing of our journey, because, the journey is far from over, but we're just starting a cycle, because we were talking about the death of WASSEKER and the fact that he stood for the cyclical principle, and we're going to go through this cycle now of the fasting period.
I know.
Won't even say anything about this one. Let's wait and see. But I know last year's was really challenging, but really powerful.
Yeah, it was.
Man.
I didn't do all of it, but I did good 30 days, I think. And I felt the difference already, but I'll try.
Yeah, and however far you get along the road, but we give thanks that we can do it with a group of energies that are pointing towards the same goal, looking towards the same place. So I want to say Duawu Nemahi for sharing with us today, but before you do go, is there anything that you would like to leave with our listeners that you think may assist them along the way?
I think it's important for me. I think if you are finding yourself as a person like I was, feeling like something was missing and you're searching, I think it's good to, check out what the Earth Center has to offer. There's many tools come to when we have our orientation to find out more, and we're online and various other words. But it's to do something for yourself, and this is for me. It's for me what I'm doing, and even though family or friends may be against it, they eventually come around. So it's to go outside your, what's the word? I think it's the box, or just to think for yourself and be creative in how you commune with your ancestors. Because they're waiting for you.
Yes. And that's the thing as well, because we will all transition. Every human will transition. That's one thing, that's one guarantee you have, if nothing else. Once you come into this life, there's one door in and there's one door out. So you too will transition. And you think about, if you're a parent, if you have a child, and you transition, if there was any way that you can take care of that child or help that child on the other side, would you not do that? Of course. Of course. It's a natural thing. And if there's any way over here you had a good relationship with your mother and your father, or whether you didn't have a good relationship and you can help them on the other side, would you not do that? Of course.
Definitely.
Of course. It's just that the flesh, the flesh has dropped. The spirit has stepped out of the flesh, but the essence is still there. And if there is something that just as a mother, I know in fact, anything I can do, and I will do, I'm going to make sure I'm still going to be looking over my children and making sure that I'm helping to guide them. Why would I not? I mean, so it stands to reason. That's why.
Definitely. Okay.
So I want to thank you again for coming in, Nemahi, and we will look forward to seeing you along this journey of the fast. We'll see how we go. Who knows whether we're going to be out of the lockdown period once we're, because it's not finishing till January, but at least we'll have that time to have really gone within ourselves and come again, So Duawu Isa for calling.
Okay.
May your ancestors continue to guide and protect you. Duawu Irihiru.
Thank you.
Irihiru.
Okay. Irihiru.
Irihiru. We're going to continue with the drums. Yes. That just kind of gives me some energy and some vibes. And listen, if you ever go down to Benin or where they're going to be playing those drums, oh my gosh, the thing is live, proper live, and not just that they're live, playing live. The thing make you want to jump and dance live, proper. So, yes, we know that the drums were used spiritually. It weren't just for entertainment. It wasn't just for a show. They were used to connect, to the deities, to our ancestors. So again, we give thanks for those who've held those traditions. I want to read an article, as I was about to do earlier, on the death of a god, mourning our ancestral father, by Zuneb Zayuwit. And I'll just, like I said, I'll probably do parts of it and then have some discussions in between. So even with resistance from modern intellectual and political fronts and beliefs, Merita, or Africa, has come to be understood as the birthplace of the ingenuity of humanity. But when the topic of spirituality arises, for some reason or another, we look elsewhere. It is a hard idea for the modern mind to comprehend that the origins of spirituality also came from the birthplace of humanity itself. But ask yourself, how could it not? This is the place where civilization and culture stem from. But somehow, when concerning spiritual morality and human enlightenment, we cannot associate those concepts with Merita. Our destiny is rooted in our origins, but the modern world's continual path of denial and disconnect from humanity's origins only harms us. Is it surprising that we, as descendants of our ancestors who lived by spiritual and moral laws, are now facing times of desolation and destruction in this modern world? This carelessness of the modern human to deny his or her spiritual roots and spiritual origins lead us to search for answers on our own, and oftentimes we can become misinformed or misled. Journeying on this path of spirituality, we come across recurring themes and stories. But if we look again to the cradle of civilization, one cannot deny the origins of these concepts. By reconnecting and reclaiming our origins as humans, we can realign ourselves to our spirituality that originated in Merita. If we turn to our ancestral culture of Kemet, we will also find the holy drama, the original spiritual text of humanity, and the beginnings of human enlightenment. We are even given a glimpse of the divine model, a guide we can observe and use to help navigate this lifetime as humans. From the holy drama comes the themes and concepts many religions and practices of spirituality follow. Religious leaders throughout history saw the seduction of the story of a caring and compassionate Godfather who sacrificed for the sake of his children and his people. Various cultures share the same story of death and resurrection. It is not a coincidence that the allure of a Godfather who sacrificed for his children is not a new concept. A human being cannot invent, only imitate. So, when creating a new cosmogony, even those who sought to usurp the honor of Kemet used the holy drama as a model to copy. The holy drama entails the story of the ancestral father, Wusa, who, along with his brother Set, was given equal domain over this world, with the difference between them being how they would choose to express their immortality. Wusa chose immortality through death and resurrection to share the gift of life with his descendants, while Seth chose to keep it to himself and thus could not die or reproduce. The story unfolds with Set plotting the death of his brother Wusa. But with Wusa's choice to transcend death and live through his descendants, he resurrected and gave humanity a chance to live, experience, and similarly exist through cycles of death and reincarnation. From copying the model of Wusa sprang many religions and spiritual stories of reincarnation and resurrection that we find today. Wusa gave humanity a chance to advance ourselves, though his various reincarnations, or through his various reincarnations, I should say, he presented humanity many gifts, such as agriculture, astronomy, language, healing, and medicine. Perhaps his greatest gift was the opportunity to come close to the divine. When asked what our agenda would be, we were in awe of the divine world. We could only reply that we wanted to be like the Neteru, the gods. Difficult as this task is, Wusa took it upon himself to again assist us and gather from the various Neteru what would be known as the Great Book of Divine Ordinances and the Code of Human Behavior. These 77 commandments are humanity's guide towards spiritual refinement and are the values which humanity vowed to live by and uphold. These tenets helped forge the first civilization of human dignity and honor across the land. These values are what defined Kemet and was the resurrection and was the reason it is looked at and seen as the center for the advancement of spirituality and philosophy worldwide. After Wusa's death, his son, Heru, took on the mission to reclaim his father's kingdom and restore his name. All humans share the same experience as Heru in fighting to restore the honor that belongs to Wusa by upholding the values and principles that he brought to humanity. Let us take a look at the modern world now. It is easy to describe what we see now as the fall of human values. It is also easy to counter that argument by stating how technologically advanced the world has become. This ideological battle distracts us from the real war that is going on, not outside, but inside each individual. Look at the 77 commandments. You will see that they all deal with refining oneself and how one interacts with the existence. This is what was taught in the temples of Uast, Thebes, and has continued to be taught in the traditional initiation camps in Merita. To carry on the name and legacy of one's father is an honorable thing. To show gratitude for all that our ancestral father has done, we as his children honor him by taking these gifts that he has left us with and fight to uphold these values in our everyday lives. To stand up and show that we are worthy of his sacrifice to us. I'm going to take a little break here. Allow that to sink in a bit before we come back on the other side. The drums, reminding us of our ancient culture. I have just been sharing with you an article from the Firefly Productions, as I said before, and it's on the death of WASSEKER and his life. I'll be taking breaks in between the reading, so I at this point want to welcome Hatini MERAMSU, who is with us this evening. Ujayi.
Hey, Ujayi says yes.
Okay. Ujayi, just making sure that we can hear you loud and clear. And I think we can hear you loud and clear. Duawu for calling into the Wisdom of the Nile show, our Earth Center mouthpiece to the world. MERAMSU, before we go any further, could you tell us what your name means, and can you tell us, what you do in the Earth Center?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'm going to say, thank you, Dual, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I acknowledge, I acknowledge, my ancestors and all the energies and the spirits and the things that allow for good timing and for this good opportunity. This is, I think, my second or third time on the show, and every time I enjoy it. And just, wish that whatever I say, that it benefits the listeners in some way or another. So my name is MERAMSU. My first name is MERAMSU, my initiatic name. Mer, meaning brave or brave man, and then Amsu, which is the name of a deity or a god in the Kemetic pantheon. So together, when you put MERAMSU together, it's like the brave of that god Amsu, or even the brave man of the god Amsu. And then my last name, which fits very well with the topic of today, is WASSEKER. WASSEKER. So WAS is a type of staff that you can see if you look at pictures of different Kemetic gods. You can see many of them carry. So it's a staff that it can represent many things, including strength. It can even represent serenity or stability. And then Seker, the second part of my last name, Seker is a god of the world of the dead. So together, WASSEKER would mean the staff of the god Seker, of the staff of that god of the world of the dead.
Okay, you're right. It fits right in. And so I know you've been in the Earth Center for many years. What's your role within the Earth Center?
In the Earth Center?
Yes.
Oh, I'm, I would say first, an initiate, another person who is continuously learning and, trying to gain knowledge about the world, about my life, about, my destiny, the meanings of my names and all of that. I am currently working out of the Chicago Earth Center in the United States. Over there, I oversee the location, the school, and then also a teacher and one of the apprentice healers.
Okay, so you do quite a few things in the school. Can you share with our listeners and myself your experience and understanding around the topic that we have today, which is the death of Wusa, which we are mourning today and we are fasting, but also, that would include his life. We know he stood for the cyclical principle. What would you share with our listeners, especially at this period of time where we who are in the initiation understand the importance of this, but maybe for those who may not know, really to open and give them something? What would you say?
Well, first I'll say that death is, you may have explained this in the article, but death is something that's very big in our culture. And by big, meaning that in the culture it's just well understood that, at any time you can go. It can be your time, you can go. You can die. And eventually everyone is going to. Like, no one can escape it. You can avoid people in your life. You can leave your country. You can turn off the TV and avoid seeing, someone you don't like on the TV. However, but whatever that you do, you can guarantee, and the person next to you right now can guarantee, and the people on the other side of the world that you don't see can guarantee that they're going to die someday. So, because of that, it's something like we don't shy away from it. We just understand that it's a reality. And that reality and how we understand it, how we treat it, the origins of it, our model, how we can come to really understand what it is and its importance to us. It all stems from the life of Wusa, one of the deities or one of the gods in the Kemetic pantheon. So in the Kemetic creation story, you have what's called the holy drama, which is, you can think of it as like a section of that creation story. And in that section, it explains the life of Wusa as one of the gods. And the thing that's very unique about WASSEKER and the other gods that are included in that story is that they live a life that human beings can really relate to. Meaning that, okay, they have these gods that are the characters in the story. They have siblings. They go through many trials and tribulations in their lives that even we as human beings can relate to. You know, having a loved one die, or starting a family, having a wife or a husband, having a child, the sacrifice and the effort that it takes to be able to raise that child, all of these different things, as they're coming out of my mouth, I'm sure many people can relate to that. You can just say, yeah, that's just human life.
Yeah.
And when we look at that story of the holy drama, that's what we see. But that story is so vital to us because it provides a model for human beings, because essentially the characters in the story are gods. And them being gods, we look to them because they're higher than us. They're better, you know, they're more pure than us. They're greater than we are. And if we're trying to become greater, if we're trying to become more evolved human beings, then we need a model to look at, and the holy drama is part of that model.
Yeah.
So in that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
1 minute remaining.
So in that story, it explains, you know, how...
So, MERAMSU, I'm just going to ask you to hold one moment. Just want to make sure that we're getting you coming through on the... So I'm just hold that thought just there. Let's put the music back up and let's just make sure that we get you on the right station. One moment. So we will be having MERAMSU coming back in shortly. I think there's some technical issues going on, so we're just trying to get that sorted out. So whilst we are making sure we get the technical issues sorted out, so that when MERAMSU is back, we're hearing him loud and clear and we're not having any issues, I'm going to continue reading from this article. Now, according to the Kemetic sidereal calendar, the 17th of the month of Atiri, and this month that we are in is Atiri, okay? We have, and today is that day, the 17th, okay? So we're in the 17th month of the 17th day of the month of Atiri. Well, that month and that day is the anniversary of the death of WASSEKER. This is one of the holiest days of Kemetic tradition. From sunrise to sunset, initiates and Kem worldwide partake in a spiritual fast. This fast in honor and reverence for WASSEKER is not as simple as no food or no water for 12 hours. Kemetic people around the world reserve this day as a time to mourn his death and the loss we as humanity suffer from losing our ancestral father. It is a time to reflect on how we as people measure up to the standard our ancestral nete set for us. WASSEKER's choice to die and resurrect is the reason humanity has an opportunity for life. Kemetic people meditate on the choices WASSEKER made in the holy drama and how we are preparing ourselves every day for the journey to the world of the dead we ourselves must traverse. And this is what Hatini MERAMSU was saying just before, that one thing we do know, that we all will transition. And so in Medita we just take time to understand death in all its aspect as well as life. So by refraining from food and drink, the body is forced to stabilize and find equilibrium. As our bodies are resetting themselves, so too are our minds. Many reflect and question where their focus and energies are centered. What are their personal desires, wants and ambitions, and how do they line up with the ancestral paradigm? Where have I been lacking in quality, and where have I been dishonest in moving towards raising my qualities? For the fast, these are some initial thoughts that may come to mind. The death of WASSEKER is a day where Kem people analyze their lives, look at their spirituality, and see where they stand in alignment in the greater scheme of the existence. This is the paradigm of the Kemetic culture and the colonial daily battle of good and evil within oneself. A Kem must face, within the daily battles of good and evil within oneself that a Kem must face. The modern world does not emphasize matters of reflection and introspection. These meditations during the death of WASSEKER are a stark contrast to the modern world's concept of what a holy day is. It is not a coincidence that this day falls on the onset of the modern holiday season. From Thanksgiving to Christmas and the New Year, these are representatives of the continuation of disconnect from our spirituality brought to us from Medita. let's see if we can get Hatini Meramsu back on the call. Ujai Meramsu?
Ujai, can you hear me?
Hey, excellent. We have got you back live on the call now, and hopefully we should be fine with. Okay, so we're just making sure that we have you live on the call, and we won't lose you again. So Hatin Meramsu, I had just asked you to just hold one moment where you were so that we could make sure that we got you back properly. So now that we've got you back, would you be able to continue from where you left off?
Yes, yes. So I was explaining about the holy drama and the importance of that serving as a model for humanity. And within that story, it gives the origins of death. And it's through, I didn't get to hear everything you had explained up until now. So if I start to repeat something that you already said, I mean, go ahead
Please
and cut
do.
in, please.
No, please do. Go ahead.
But in that story, like you had said, Wisser made a choice, and then his brother also made a choice about how to live out their lives, how to live out their existence. And this is after they themselves were created by other gods, or another god. So Wisser made the choice of living out his existence, living out his life through death and resurrection. After he dies, he comes back. And then he dies, and then he comes back. And so on and so on. And he continues to live his existence like that. But Seth, on the other hand, chose just to continually perpetuate himself, meaning that he doesn't die. He doesn't die, he just continues to live. Both of them are ways that these beings are living out their immortality. They're both immortal. It's just the way, the manner and the fashion in which they do it is different. So I know you were asking about the Wisser with regards to the notion of cycles, and that's even part of where you can start to see that, because life and death and then reincarnation, or reincarnation to come back again, is an example of a cycle that happens again and again and again. Now, in the holy drama, Wisser has a son by the name of Hero. And in the story, everything that Wisser has, he passes that down to his son. Even the mission that Wisser had on the earth, really to and even just to maintain his own domain, his own kingdom. Because Seth has his domain on the planet. Wisser has his domain on the planet. And he's just trying to maintain that. So even that responsibility he passes down to his child. And after passing that down to his child, then, the child is now, you can say, like holding the torch. He's holding everything. So now it becomes his responsibility to make sure that what his father gave to him doesn't die out, that fire doesn't die. And so this is an example of even how human beings, that's how we continue to perpetuate ourselves. Whatever we have, whatever we learn, whatever we attain, whatever knowledge that you think that you have, that really the best way to ensure that survives is you pass it down. and you pass it down to your children.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the same way that you were on this planet and you had an opportunity to learn things, you had an opportunity to experience things, you had an opportunity to cry and to laugh and to speak with other people and all of this. Now your child or your children have that opportunity as well. And then it just keeps going and going like that, because they're going to have children. And then those children going to have children.
Mm-hmm.
And then those children going to have children, and so on,
Mm-hmm.
and so on, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead. Sis.
No, and yeah, so that you say no and then yes, because even that whole concept as well, when we come back to Heru, and you said it, and the even in the articles, it said, where Wusa has Heru, and you just said, he passed that responsibility down to his son, and they make the connection between humans now, us today, being that Heru, or representing that Heru. And I think from what you're saying, it's this passing down of responsibility from one generation to the other. So that was our ancestors, and what they've been passed down, they've now passed to us, and it's up to us to hold that legacy or those teachings. Is that what you're saying? So that persons who are out there who may not be able to connect with Heru and understand, well, how do I fit into this? How are they connected to this? Because to many it would just be a story. So how do they reconnect?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the beauty in the story, because it knows no color. Like, it knows no land. It knows no one type of human being. Even meaning that even though the story was passed down from Kemet, survives in Kemet, in what people may call, Africa, it's a human story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a human story. So no matter what language you speak, no matter whether you live, in India or China or the United States or London or wherever, if you're a human being, then it's something that you can relate to, because there's no human being that doesn't die. There's death in the story. There's no human being that came here without coming through a mother and a father. You have that in the story. There's no human being that doesn't get strength by having knowledge passed down to them, or doesn't give strength by passing it, to another human being. So all of these aspects, that's what I mean. It's something that knows no boundaries. Like, meaning across human beings, it knows no boundaries. If you're a human being, you can see yourself in the story.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And and I hope our listeners can really get to understand that when we're talking about these, let me put them in inverted commas, stories, they really are models or guides for us to emulate and to look towards. Now, as you said, we spoke about this idea of cycles, and one of the greatest is this cycle of reincarnation, and I think this article was saying the same thing, though, that whatever it is in this cycle that we have found ourselves in this time, we found ourselves here, with everything else that's going on, this journey is about you and me. It's about us. It's about us facing and dealing with ourselves, which I think fits in line with the responsibility that you was talking about that was passed down, right?
Yes.
Can you expound a bit more on that, let's say, know thyself aspect of the initiation?
Hmm. Okay. Well, it's very related to what I was saying a little bit earlier, in that you only know yourself if you know where you came from. That's the only way to know yourself. Because given the fact that no human being just appears, like you didn't just pop up at the radio station last week and I'm born, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no human being comes on this planet and just appears. Everyone comes through a channel, and that channel is through a mother and through a father. And then that mother and that father, they come through a channel as well. You know, their own mother and their own father. And it goes back and back and back. So that being the case, you know, you can't look at any part of yourself, look at any part of your body, and really claim that this doesn't belong to one of those people that are responsible for me being here. Because whatever part of, you know, whatever part of yourself that you want to call yourself is only a result of one of those people. You know, whether it be your mother or your father or something from their mother or their fathers. And even like I was explaining earlier in the holy drama itself, Heru only receives his identity, meaning not only who he is, but also his mission on the planet, his mission on Earth. It comes through his father. It comes through his blood. If Heru was born and Wissa didn't say, okay, this is what you're here to do. This is what I did in my life, and now I'm passing this responsibility to you. He would just be subject to do whatever he wants, you know? Heck, maybe Wissa's brother, Set, might recruit him for his own ambition. And it's the same thing for each and every human being. Like, if we don't know where we come from, if we don't know our mother and our father, we can be subject to those same things. And it happens to people. You know, you see people that they don't know their own culture, or maybe they, what's the word I'm looking for? Denounce it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the values that their parents lived by, they find a reason to throw those away and then pick up values that really don't identify them.
Yeah.
I mean, you have distractions in the modern world to take you away from that. You know, maybe you were meant to, you know, I don't know, be working with fire and iron as a blacksmith, or maybe you were meant to be a farmer. Maybe you were meant to do this work that your father, you know, passed down to you, but you find a reason to not do it and then end up becoming a dancer, or, you know, a chef, or something that really isn't becoming of what you're here to do.
So it's about that as well, understanding, you know, sitting with yourself and getting to know who you are and what you came to do.
Yes, absolutely.
What can we say? You know, and you know, we don't want listeners to think that, you know, it's just about you know, this heavy thing about death, or this heavy thing about the gods, because the reality is that within that there is such joy, because the reality is within all of this, what we're talking about, when you say death, you're talking about life. Because when you understand death, then you understand life. You understand what life is, and what, you know, and then when you get to understand what you've come here to do. And when we talk about, you know, some people say the neter or the deities or the unseen, I think let's call it the unseen, you know, which world came first, the physical or the non-physical? And that's something when I'm doing some workshops, I always ask people, you know, the physical or the non-physical, you know, and I leave people to sit with that first. But so from that non-physical world, which is the first world, comes also joy. There is great joy, there is great gaiety, there is great, you know, laughter. There is so much, you know. So although you hear us talking about, you know, the deities, and we're talking about this and that, it really encompasses everything. But it's just that at this time, when we honor and we show reverence to what we call or the deity we call our ancestral father, it comes with that kind of sobriety, you know. But everything is in balance. I just felt I had to say that, so maybe there was someone out there thinking, well, you know, it's just, yeah, it's everything. But we, you know, as MERAMSU said, because death is a reality and most people run from that word until they have to face it, we look at it and this is what it is. Okay, this is how I'm going to prepare for it, because it's an inevitable.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
Miriam.
absolutely. And you know, to the sobriety, or kind of the zeal that people have for Wissa, to understand it, at the beginning of the holy drama, at the beginning of the story, it explains how Wissa sacrificed life to travel the world and be able to educate human beings, meaning that to go and to teach us about agriculture. I mean, you have to imagine like a human being that doesn't really know much at all. If there's even a language for human beings at that time, it's very primary. Human beings, you know, maybe are just kind of hunting for food and getting along the best that they can, just trying to survive on that, and don't know farm, don't know agriculture, don't know how you can put plants in the ground and they flourish and you can harvest them and be able to eat that throughout the year. Human beings that don't know the importance of water and washing the self, you know. So it was in that state that Wissa took it upon himself to travel the world and educate human beings. Just also knowing that, okay, as I explained earlier, Wissa made the choice that I live out my existence through death and reincarnation. And for that to happen, there has to be human beings. Because it's through human beings that Wissa will come. So if there are no human beings, or even if there are human beings and they're in bad shape, if human beings don't respect or don't show value for each other, or even show value for their own lives, why would Wissa want to be reincarnated into a village of people who don't respect themselves or each other, or don't value their lives? It's like saying, why would I want to be, you know, born and grown up in a neighborhood where crime is prevalent? Like, no one would wish that for themselves. So Wissa took it upon himself to travel the world and educate human beings in these different aspects of life that we need for our basic survival, for agriculture, for cleaning the self, for washing yourself, washing your body,
Mm-hmm.
even how to do spiritual purifications, even knowing how to read the stars and what the stars have to do with our lives as human beings here on this planet Earth. Those sort of things are what Wisser went around the world teaching. In the midst of that, we're talking about a God, a pure, a being that's entirely pure, a being that is higher. Like the quality of Wisser is much greater than a human being. Human beings, we admit we're dirty. We cuss. You know, uh, uh, we caca. We go to the bathroom all the time. I mean, we have dirty thoughts. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to go throughout the day and just kind of keep yourself what you would call clean.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you walk enough and it's hot enough. You don't even have to walk. Really, you sweat. It's so hard to keep clean. Now imagine a being that's has knowledge and cleanliness and purity that far surpasses a human being, and then takes it upon himself to go and to spend time educating these, dirty, disgusting beings that we call human beings. It's like when you were growing up, you had a teacher that you looked up to, right?
Um, there was one teacher who I did like, yes.
And that person, maybe from time to time, you think about them like, man, if it wasn't for that teacher, I would be in this bad position in life, or it wasn't for them and like whatever it was that they taught me, like I wouldn't be where I am today. Even if you only had them for 1 year, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that they
Mm-hmm.
provided you in your
Yeah.
life, they
Yeah.
really impacted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, imagine someone doing that for you, not just for 1 year, not just for 5 years, but for your life. And even having the patience when you were young and you were impatient and maybe you didn't want to listen to what adults had to say or anything like that. If that person, imagine that person kind of taking you under their wing for the duration of your life. And then you look back in your life and you see, man, when I was younger, I was really a hothead, or I really, wouldn't listen to anybody, or I was this, or I was that. And then that teacher or that person really held your hand in life to the point where you cleaned yourself up. And you knew that that person was already much more patient than you, but still, like they were much better off than you. But still, they kind of lowered themselves or humbled themselves just to be able to pick you up, just to be able to help you.
Yeah. I guess that's what we
That's the
call.
type of,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and that is the exact type of respect or the reverence, the zeal that human beings will have for Wisser, that Kim people have for Wisser, because that's what Wisser did for us.
Yeah, I like that you've put that into context. I don't know if you're hearing. Yeah, yeah, you've put it into context nicely. Because sometimes as human beings, we just kind of tend to think we came here all perfect, and but according to the Kemetic temples, as you said, it was a process, and there was a higher being who was a key part in that process in becoming what we call civilized now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even just in that kind of how I put it in the context for you, like what Worcester did for human beings, human beings can do that too. Human beings can do that too, and that's how I mean, essentially, that's what we need to be doing if that is our model,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Passing
how
it
we
on.
can. That's how we can really uplift other people, uplift each other, uplift humanity. I was someone was telling me a story about they were in Africa, and this was let me see, on land that the Earth Center owns. So at this particular time, there's a lot of people from the States and kind of around the world that are there on this annual pilgrimage that, we go on in Merita in Africa. So one of the people, I think from like a nearby town or city, came to the compound where everyone is staying, and coming to, because that happens a lot. You'll get people who just kind of come and want to be around, like when want to benefit from the Earth Center, just benefit and be around and see how they can help out, things like this. But this particular person, he came and stole something. And I think it was maybe the next day, he ended up coming back. And on that day, everyone found out that he was the one that stole something. Now, when you hear that, you're probably like, oh, if they found out, I'm sure they all jumped on him and, bruised him up or whatnot. Well, what happened was that the person in charge at the time, they took this brother and, put him in the car and then drove off. And that's what everyone was thinking. Oh, man, there's something. Who knows what they're going to do with this guy?
You're going to get it.
Right, exactly. He's got his comeuppance, right? He got his comeuppance. And especially in Africa, like in many countries, you steal, it's a major crime. Like, major crime. In many places you go, people will get killed.
Or get your hand chopped off or something.
Oh, yeah, even death in some circumstances, burned a lot. I mean, depending on where you go, yes, it's very serious. So what happened was they drove off, and the person who was, in charge of the group at the time, he was telling me that we went, and we found out why he did. We found out why he did it. And after finding out why he did it, and because it had to do with like family issues, and how the brother was raised. I think his father wasn't around, and in conversing with the thief, they found out about this and kind of found out these different factors that led to that type of behavior in him. And after finding that out, they helped the brother out and helped him to find a solution. From what I understand, there was some type of spiritual work that they could do, like to help the brother out and help him help with those family issues, like the root of those issues.
Like you say.
Now,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, now imagine yourself in that position. Let's say like you, the one that's the thief, and you steal something and then you get caught. You have 50, 100 people that are looking at you. Everyone knows that you're the thief. Hopefully you should feel so ashamed of yourself. Let's say you do. You feel so ashamed of yourself. You get confronted. Everyone knows that you're stealing. And you're sitting at the foot of, maybe the leader of this group or whoever's in charge of this group. And they help you.
After that. Yeah.
After all of that, because you probably feel like at that time, man, just give me a
That's it.
punishment, just beat me up, like, just this to me, and then I'm gonna go because I feel real bad about this. And then the person or the people offer to help you. There's something in that. There's like it's even hard to explain for me. Like there's a type of human aspect to that. It reaches a part of you that leaves you essentially speechless. Like
Yes.
how is it that in this position where I see like I'm corrupt, I see where I did bad, I did evil, you would expect someone to do something bad against me, but they're actually helping me? Like you don't even know how to really react to that. It's hard to say something to that person who's helping you. It's hard to react to it. Like what do you it's almost like you can't do anything but collapse. You're like, I don't get it. You know?
Say kill them with love in one way. That's what we say in Jamaica. Kill them with love.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
and then that, you know, that's what I mean. That's like the type of uh model that Wither provided.
Hmm.
Because if you're at that point, then all you want to do is provide the same thing to that person and try and help and benefit those other people. You know,
Hmm.
you don't want to continue to steal. You don't come back. You just want to. It's like whatever that person showed for me, whatever compassion that person showed for me. I just want to make sure that I can help other people with that too.
Yeah, and and there you see the better side of the human being. You see what we
Uh,
can offer, what we can be, and that's just the beginning. That's just, I mean, there's 90% of our brain that we don't use. How much other energies will that unlock in us to see what we can p- really become. And that's what we're talking about, that becoming. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. Dwell for that. Dwell for that. Oh, wow, MERAMSU. Wow, we've gone right out of time and I'm supposed to be finishing this article, but I think I probably
Oh,
won't be able to finish the article because, no, you rounded it off so beautifully right there, Yes, thank you so much.
I was just getting started. This.
Say that again. Say that
I
again.
said I was just getting started.
And we've run right out of time.
I,
Normally we
I'm
finish
just
about
kidding.
10. We've run right. So I'm not even gonna do the rest of the articles. I think you've really covered it so much. But what I would like to say, Hatni MERAMSU, is there any last words you would like to leave with our listeners that they could take with them during this time that we find ourselves in?
Yeah, absolutely. Many people have said that 2020 is a tough year. It was a tough year. Whether it be the onslaught of coronavirus or whether it be, politics, and there's many things. Many people experience death and turmoil, people that I know personally. Um, but even amidst all of that, I will say that we all human, and if we really use the tools or we utilize the model that the gods gave us, that the gods left us, that we can still function, that we can still move forward in unity and really find success in the things that we do. So in the same way that uh, in that story that I was talking about with the thief, and how compassion became a tool to essentially bring unity amongst the people, bring unity between, the thief and the other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I encourage everyone that's listening to keep in mind this concept of unity, not just among, people living in one region or people living in one city, but really as human beings, because as human beings that are all in this life together, we find our strength in unity. So, yeah, that's what I have. And Dual Katasta for having me on the show. I really, enjoy being on the show. You have some great questions, and you are a great speaker. So I'll say thank you again.
I'm the one to say one of the Dawao Hatni for bringing those new insights and bringing it in such a way that even a baby can understand, So I want to say Dawao Isa for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, may the ancestors continue to guide you on your journey. Dawao.
Okay.
Dawao Hatni.
All right, sir.
Iri. Yes, that was MERAMSU giving us some more of the teachings from the wisdom of the Nile, and in such a plain and simple way that we can all get it. So we've run right out of time now, but before we leave tonight, I just want to share with you a talk that will be happening this Saturday, the 28th of November 2020, and that's at 5:30 p.m. GMT time and 12:30 p.m. EST time. It's healing, so it's a Wisdom of the Nile lecture series. This is online, and it's called Healing Generational Trauma. Healing generational trauma. So again, Hatini MERAMSU was talking about passing on the responsibility. But what happens when you're passing on degradation? What happens when you're passing on low morals? What's when you're passing on decadence? What happens when you're passing on trauma? What happens to a people when you're passing that on, and how can we heal? So the Earth Center will be presenting this lecture, Healing Generational Trauma, and that will be how do you heal yourself from the generational trauma that can be passed down from one generation to the next. It will be presented by Buwapti Fakara, the UK Temples Director. So this will be streamed live on YouTube at the Earth Center. So for the website details, it's the Earth Center. That's TER, theearthcenter.org. Facebook is the Earth Center, and Instagram is at Kebta. So if you want to tune in to hear more from the Earth Center and more of the teachings from the Nile Valley regions, tune in to this Wisdom of the Nile lecture series on the 28th, and that's this Saturday, 2020, 5:30 p.m. GMT time, 12:30 p.m. EST time, and it's Healing Generational Trauma. Wow, I want to thank you for being here. I want to give thanks to the Neter, to the ancestors, to Nebnaba, to all the teachers and the initiate that make up, the priests that make up the temple, so that we have a place and we have a culture that we can partake. I want to give thanks. So I would like to say Duawu, Isa, and Iriheru. Iriheru is see you another day to those who are listening. So Iriheru.
This song goes in the memory of the beloved prophet Nebnabala Musa Morodinabig, the doggone prince, Mahir, the truth teller, Besina Basa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. the man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Maheru, Maheru, Maheru. From far away, I'm from far away, far away, from far away, West Africa. From far away, Prophet Naba, far away, La Musa, far away, far away, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet, far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lives by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock their treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the prophet Naba. Far away, I'm from far away, far away, from far away, West Africa. From far away, prophet Naba, far away, La Musa, far away, far away, prophet, from far away, prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, prophet, far away. Bob Marley say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can.